Skills on the platform, back at you with another one. What's up, YouTube? I've been moved by the spirit to do this lesson today, and this one is gonna be a slow cooker. I'm gonna take my time with this one, but I'm gonna focus on getting it done as quick as possible. Okay. Today's lesson is going to be on Stockholm Syndrome. Okay. Now, Stockholm Syndrome is an emotional response. It happens to some abuse hostage victims when they have positive feelings towards an abuser or captor. Okay, now that's just a regular Google dictionary search. I also have the etymology dictionary search. Now, being that Stockholm Syndrome is a compound word, when I looked it up in the etymology dictionary, they were separated. So we can just put the two words together and be able to get a deeper understanding, which the original Google search doesn't provide. Okay, so Stockholm, capital city of Sweden. I didn't know that until now. It rose mid 13th century from a fishing village, and the second element in the name is home, island. The first is either stack, bay, or stock. Stake, pole. So I want you guys to keep it a reminder on the word stake. Now we can look at that as a couple different ways. Actually, for instance, a steak someone may eat, or a wooden stake like in the old vampire movies that they drive through a vampire's heart, or you stake a claim into something, okay? Like as if you're taking ownership of something, right? Okay, keep that in mind. Now, Stockholm Syndrome is from 1978, a psychologist term. The name derives from the August 23rd, 1973 violent armed robbery of a bank in Stockholm. The bank is spelled Sveriges, Credit Bank, Kreditbank. And this is in Stockholm. After which four bank employees were held hostage in a vault for more than 5 days. So they were held in this vault for more than 5 days. All right, they were held hostage in a vault for more than 5 days. The hostages developed a dramatic attachment to their abusers and a fear of would-be rescuers that they could not explain. So they actually feared someone rescuing them. They feared someone rescuing them, but they fell in love with the captors. They fell in love with the people holding them hostage, right? Against their will. They were not in their right mind because they were in that vault for 5 days. Key point. Remember, stake. Keep a mind out for the word stake, because we're going to bring this full circle. And also keep a mind out for the words abusers. Okay. Now, yes, for those two key words, okay? Stakes and abusers, all right? Now, the syndrome, a number of symptoms occurring together. So a syndrome is a number of symptoms occurring together. So in other words, it's a sense of confusion, right? In 1540, from medical Latin, from Greek, syndrome, concurrence of symptoms, concourse of people, from syndromos, place, where several roads meet, literally arranging a running together with a running course. So we know symptoms are occurring together, a number of symptoms occurring together. So it's a form of confusion, right? Okay. So now I also wrote here in the notes a perverted form of love. So how does one end up falling in love with their captors? Right? Fell in love with their captors to the point where they didn't even want to be rescued. They were afraid of being rescued. It's because of the time they were in that vault with these robbers, bank robbers, who were holding them hostage for 5 days. So during that 5-day time frame, they developed some sort of obsession for these people that are holding them captive. It's a perverted form of love, because it wasn't necessary. It wasn't real. It's not a true, genuine type of love, because love is something that you develop for someone over time. You're not going to fall in love with somebody in 5 days. It's foolishness. Now, you can probably know that may be your someone, that you encounter, that you can kind of know in advance that that's your person, or that's who you meant to be with. But you're going to spend more than 5 days to try to get to know the person, and 5 days typically is not enough to get to know somebody. It's just not, period. All right, so let's move on. Now, they love what hates them. So these robbers came in the bank to get money. They weren't thinking about these people they were holding captive. They couldn't care less about the ones they were holding captive. They did not care for them at all. So how could they have got some kind of love or some type of obsession for their captors? It was false. It was a false sense of reality. Right? You can't fall in love with someone that holds you captive. You may play it off for a while they're there, because they may harm you, so you'll probably play it off. Let's move on so we can bring this full circle. The oppressed falls in love with the oppressor, because you have the mind of your oppressor. Boom. Let's pause here for a second and let's roast this for a second here, right? So they were in the vault with the hostages were in the vault with their captors for about 5 days, right? So they started to get this feeling of kind of not wanting to be rescued, right? But they kind of fell in love with their oppressors and their captors. They gained some type of sick obsession for them. Okay? So what's happening at that time frame, after those 5 days, those ones held captive against their will started to develop the mindset of the ones holding them hostage. They started to think like them. So if they started to think like them, in other words, that's how they could have end up falling in love, have this kind of an obsession for them, because they started to think like the ones that were holding them hostage. But the ones that were holding them hostage didn't care for them at all. Regardless if you take on their mindset, that doesn't mean they care about you or they love you for that matter. It's something that's dealing in your own mind, something that you conjured up in your own mind. Or maybe not necessarily conjured up, something that was forced into you. Remember, they was in that vault for 5 days with these robbers, bank robbers, right? So this is something that happened over the time frame, that the mindset of the bank robbers were instilled, in a sense, into these hostages. We're following here, right? Okay, we're going somewhere. Here we go. Now, if you look at what in history can you tie this to, right? We can tie it to the Caucasians who hate so-called black folks and give them their mindset by wiping out their culture. They also hate so-called black folks. Their mind becomes the opposition of the body. The mind begins to oppose the body. So, in other words, you kind of gain this love for them. You start do. Of course, you're gonna do what they say because you don't want to be, harmed or feel like you're gonna get harmed. So you're gonna do what they say and go along with whatever they're doing to you. So they begin to take on the mind of the ones that's inflicting the harm. We know that so-called black folks have gone through oppression for many years. So do you think that was just healed over the past 50 years, 60, 70 years, when so-called, they were granted freedom? No. It was never cured. A Band-Aid was thrown over a wound and told you to go on your way. The wound healed in a sense, but it'll never be the same. Whoever controls the mind of the people controls the minds of the children. So this is something that had to be instilled into these people so they can behave in a certain way and act in a certain way. So-called black folks were lab experiments in the recent past. 50 years ago wasn't long ago. We may think it was a long time ago, but it wasn't. So-called black folks were lab experiments in the recent past, were bred to behave the way they behave today. So we see a lot of black folks acting completely out of order today in society, right? You think that's a coincidence? Nothing is a coincidence. This was done on purpose. That's why you see these folks behaving the way they behave today. Men and women get together. No one gets an excuse or pass. Men and women both have behaved in ways that were inappropriate. And people around the world sit back and laugh. They laugh at you. Many so-called black women are female chauvinist and have a mindset of a chauvinist. Now they say men are male chauvinist. There are women chauvinists as well too. There are female chauvinists. They exist. We're seeing more and more today. And I know a lot of women probably thinking, "Oh, what is he talking about? What is he talking about?" Listen, I'm talking about men and women are chauvinist. They are male chauvinist and female chauvinist. It's an unhealthy type of behavior. That's the key to what I'm talking about. That's the point of this today. It's inappropriate from men and women. Let's move on. Female chauvinists and have a mindset of a chauvinist is a man or a woman who can only express their patriotic feelings in terms of hatred. We see in both sexes today. We see that hatred spewing out of their pores by the things that they speak, little smart comments that they may say all over the internet. It's pretty sick to see how silly these people sound when they're speaking. They need to go back and listen to themselves 4 or 5 times and really start to meditate on what they're saying online. Do you guys watch yourselves before you post these things? Do you at least evaluate yourself to even sound remotely appropriate on what you're talking about? You just spew out nonsense out your mouth with no kind of consideration of what you're teaching other people or showing the younger generation. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Okay? The patriotic feelings terms of hatred to others. Okay? Contraries. They are still to be found in France. Certain people, I'm going to say that again. Many so-called black women are female chauvinists and have a mindset of a chauvinist. Chauvinist is men or women who can only express their patriotic feelings in terms of hatred to other countries or others. They are still to be found in France. Certain people who can only show the excellence of French by exhibiting the wickedness of the English. So they will highlight issues in others, but won't look at themselves. There's scripture that speaks about in that sense, where you looking at the log in your brother or sister's eye, but you forget the beam in your own eye. You're pointing out what other people are doing while you're turning around not looking at what you're doing. When you're pointing one finger at others, there are 3, 4 fingers pointing back at you. Check yourself. Stop worrying about what other people are doing, in a sense. Now, if they're doing something that's, harming you, then obviously you have to speak up. Clearly. Okay? So let's move on. The exaggerated blind patriotism degenerated into a vice. Excessive belief in the superiority of one's race in the late 19th century. Sexism. Cause she was brainwashed with the mindset of a Caucasian male. Now, I threw that in there as some notes. She was brainwashed with the mindset of a Caucasian male. Now, we see a lot of women who have taken on the mindset of a Caucasian male. This is what we're seeing right now. This is what parts of YouTube that are not what they're not saying. They're beating around the bush and not going at the issue head on. I'm going to say it. They have adopted the mindset of the Caucasian male who has hatred for so-called black folks. So it's like they're finishing off the work of what they started. These women are finished off the work of what these Caucasian males started years ago. We're slow cooking this today. From patriotism concepts, the female chauvinist concept of mind in women towards men. Now, men doing it towards women, of course. There are selective men that are doing this, but most men are not doing this. There's a small percentage of men that are doing this. But those small percentage of men, what most people would consider the top of the food chain or would be considered the elite, right? They would be considered the elite. To someone that has a certain mindset. Let's move on. Women are the fastest to turn against each other. They turn against their own kind. Women turn against women quicker than anything. In a split second. You can have a so-called best friend or a girlfriend or someone you call your best friend for years, but she'll turn around and sleep with your man behind your back and then smile in your face. She'll want your man, might not even tell you, but she'll make a pass at him when you're not around, but you're too stupid to realize it. Now, men do it too. They try to go up behind their so-called friend's back and go sleep with that man's woman or wife. But in my mind, if you were with me and one of my friends or another man was able to get you, you was never mine to begin with. So I chalk it off as a win for me. You just showed your true stripes, and it's okay. Cool. There's plenty of fish out there in the sea. Let's move on. Now, women are the fastest to turn against each other. Why? Because the female chauvinist mindset of a Caucasian man. They have that mindset of a Caucasian man today. These women are considered the Caucasian males of today. It's like the Caucasian male said and put his mindset into the women. Now, why did he choose the women? Why did he choose the so-called black women to do this to? Because clearly the women have a weaker mindset than men in a lot of cases. Now, there's some selective few women who have very strong minds. We're not talking about them. We're talking about the ones that are easily susceptible to this kind of thinking and this thought process to be able to execute this thought process on other people, like the Caucasian did back in the days. That hatred that the Caucasian male had for the so-called black people, the so-called black women of today have adopted this mindset towards their own, against their own kind, against their own men. Now, men are not completely innocent now. Just know that. I'm going to get into this. Because it's based on competition. She competes against women and men. So the woman with this kind of mindset, who has this chauvinist mindset that comes originally from a Caucasian male, this mindset of superiority, and she shows it too. In her words, she shows it. She has adopted this Caucasian mindset of a slave master and pushing it on her people. She does it to other women and she does it to men. She doesn't discriminate. The only one she doesn't do it to is the Caucasian male. It's because she can still go fill out an application at a large corporation, which typically are run by Caucasian males, go ask for a job, apply, and follow the rules to the T. She won't break any rules. She'll even take the extra step to do things that she wasn't even asked to do, because she's trying to prove herself to him, because she feels he's the superior. These women who think, the so-called black women who think like this, think that the Caucasian male is superior. Reason being is because she has his mindset. If she has the mindset of the Caucasian male, clearly she's going to think that he's superior. And she's going to act as if she is him. Let's move on. I see it even in women in my family from the past. I've seen it. I've been exposed to this kind of thing. That's why I can speak about it. I've seen it firsthand. Second, third, fourth, and fifth. Been around so-called lovers, their friends, their family members who think like a Caucasian male, who has a mindset that hate black, so-called black people. I'm not saying all Caucasian people hate so-called black people. I'm not saying all. But then again, I'm not sure. I don't know how they think. I don't know how they feel. Because I'm not them. Let's move on. Because it's based on competition. They compete against women and men. Based on socialism and classism. They think they're better than you in all ways, shapes, or form. You hear a lot of women speak about their education. Having a PhD, master's degree, higher degree of education. But they still have regular jobs though. They still work for somebody else. If the company shuts down, a lot of these people who have these degrees, if the company that you're working for shuts down, a lot of them are not entrepreneurs. Some are. But most of them, they have jobs. They work for large corporations. If these corporations shut down, you would not have a job. That so-called money you put so much of emphasis on that you have, makes you think you're better than others. If that company shuts down, you have nothing, my dear. You have nothing. Now what you got? How are you better than somebody else? You're not. It's because you're still dependent on others for what you need. Now, we all have some type of dependent, because when you're in a business, you kind of depend on people to use your services. So there's nothing wrong with dependency, but then there's a healthy type of dependency and there's an unhealthy type as well. But we're not talking about that. Let's move on. Now, there's a scripture that ties in with this, right? But it's a competition for the women who think with the Caucasian mindset. They compete against women and men. No discrimination there. They tend to side more with the women who think like them, of course. There's another word for it, misandry. Yep. Feminism. Feminism is more equality, but they could be in the public as feminists, but behind the scenes they're misandry. It's misandry. Misandry. They're chauvinist. I actually read a short story about a girl talking about her mother, who was an attorney, and how she really feels that she's superior to men. She may not admit it up front, but in the back of her mind, that's how she thinks, that she's more superior to men. That's a chauvinist. There are female chauvinists. So the scriptures that I want to go into, this is just to bring things full circle, because you're not better than a man, and a man's not necessarily better than you. There's things that he does better, and there's things that she does better. When you guys coming together in harmony and stop trying to compete against one another, that's when your lives will be better. You'll be able to live in harmony with one another instead of trying to compete, which is foolishness. And here you go. This is the proof where it's foolishness. You harm yourself by doing it. You only do it to yourself, because then you get to an age where you start to realize I made a mistake, but it's too late for you at that point. Typically, it'd be too late. So mainly this is for the younger generation, for them to realize, don't follow in the footsteps of people who are not living prosperous, who don't have good examples, especially women that are not married, and men that don't have a life to lead by example. A lot of men are pushovers these days. That's why a lot of women behave like this. So here's the solution. In 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 7, it says, likewise, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way, showing honor to the women as the weaker vessel, since they are heirs with you of the grace of life. She's an heir with you for the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered. So here you go. If you're not honoring the men, and women, and men are not honoring the women, if we are not honoring one another, best believe your prayers will be hindered. None of your prayers will be answered, whether you're putting out negativity or positivity. If you don't honor the woman, and women don't honor the man, if we don't honor each other as men and women, you will not be heard. Your prayers will fall to deaf ear. The Most High is not hearing you. Then you wonder why your life is in shambles in a lot of cases. Now, I took it a little step further. I looked up the word honor in the etymology dictionary. Honor, 12th century, Omer, glory, renown, fame, earned. Earned. Honor, dignity, distinction, position, victory, triumph, office. Right? Victory, triumph, and office. So it's an office. The honor is an office. So that means a man has an office and a woman has an office. But the office is one. Reputation. So you have to have a good reputation. You can't be out here just doing what you want and think you're living free. It's a lie. You're living a lie. You fell into the lie. You fell in love with the lie. You took stake in a lie. You claimed a lie. We're bringing this full circle here. Oh yeah, like I said, we slow cooking this. You took a stake in a lie. Men and women. You're supposed to carry a reputation in a certain way. You're supposed to behave in a certain way and accordingly. Splendor, beauty, excellence. Feminine purity. Ooh. So you want honor, ladies? You behaving with feminine purity. And I don't have to define that word. You know what purity means. Feminine purity. There are roles a man has and there are roles that a woman has. And it's not that you behave once you're able to get what you want, then you can behave accordingly, because if that's the case, then you're not who you say you are. It's a lie. You have to be that before. Scriptures teach that a man who finds a wife finds a good thing. So that means he found her in that state of a wife first. Y'all don't want to be married. A lot of women don't want to be married. Don't kid yourself. You want to live this life that was a lie that was told to you by the media, social media, okay, the internet, over the past 10, 15, 20 years, you guys really have absorbed this information and gone gun-ho with it without even any kind of solid history of what you're doing and why you're behaving the way you behave. You're behaving the way you behave because you're thinking like a Caucasian male. You think you're better than everyone else, and you think you can do whatever you want, and there not be a cost for it. You don't think that Caucasian male is going to pay for what he did? Absolutely. Now, it's been said that the so-called black people, who were called blackamoors back in the days, actually held Caucasians in slavery. So this could be the payment that they're paying for holding a Caucasian in slavery. Let's keep it all the way 100 and all the way full scope here. The Caucasians are part of us. They come from us. They have less melanin, but nonetheless, they are melanated as well. They have melanin. They're what you call amalgamated Moors. And then you have the blackamoors. Nonetheless, they're all Moors. From the so-called black man down all the way to the Caucasian man, which is the so-called white man, the yellow man, everyone in between. You can deny it all you want. It's facts. Honor. Chastity. Okay? Feminine purity. A woman's chastity. There were times where a woman would held herself in high regard. People would honor her because she carried herself in a certain way. Many of these women today, you don't deserve any honor because you don't act accordingly. And many of these men today don't deserve any honor because they don't act accordingly. It goes both ways. Action of honoring or paying respect. Nobleness. We're supposed to be nobles. Of character or manner. High station. You act like peasants when you're supposed to be kings and queens. You're supposed to rule kingdoms. We used to be matriarchies. But you act like peasants. You run the street like dogs. You run the street like animals. So quick to jump on one another. To get a quick feeling. That lasts but a moment. Then you go seek out other people to go get that feeling from. From other slow, simple-minded people too, who think like that Caucasian. Who think like that slow, simple-minded Caucasian. He's clever though, but he's still simple-minded. Because someone that can hate someone that comes from them or that's part of them is not right here. They're not right in their mind. There's something disconnected in that mind for you to think that you're superior. No one's better than no one else. It's just that some people may accomplish more in their lifetime, but it still doesn't make them better than anyone. Because everyone has the capability to do great things. Nobleness of character or manner, high station or rank, a mark of respect or esteem. Only certain people gonna get respect, and it's gonna show in your behavior. If you're acting like an animal, you're gonna get treated like an animal. If you act like a dog, you're gonna get dog food and get dogged out. Then you want to cry later on in life and wonder why this happened to me. It's because you didn't make any good decisions. You didn't use your brain and your mind to make good decisions. You just went along with something without any kind of research or looking into anything. Just accepted it for face value. Prima facie evidence. Prima facie evidence. Accepting something for face value. without doing any kind of research or digging further into it to find out if someone is deceiving you. Now, going back to the Stockholms quickly, they were captives for 5 days. They couldn't do anything because these captives probably would have killed them if they did anything that the captives didn't like. So they had to go along with it. But right now, we're so-called have this freedom. You don't have to go along with this mindset. You're choosing to go along with this mindset. And by you choosing to continue in this mindset, you're going to pay the consequences of choosing the mindset that you're pursuing. Men and women, you're going to pay the price, period. Good reputation. That's what it's about. Having a good reputation. Act accordingly. You're not an animal. You're supposed to be a human being. Act like it with some honor. Men, honor your women. Right? Women, honor your men. Honor yourselves. Because if you don't, no one will. No one. You think that Caucasian male has any respect for you because you have his mindset? Still doesn't like you. Just like those robbers in that bank, even though those captors, the one that was held in captive against their will by these robbers, you think those robbers started to fall in love with those people? They weren't thinking about them. They were thinking about how to get that money out the bank. Same thing, they trying to get the money out of you, fool. By you sitting and acting the way you act, all they doing is being able to siphon money and your wealth and put it in their pocket. Stupid. Now, that might have been a little inappropriate, but I got a little teed off there because people are doing this intentionally. They know what they're doing. They're acting stupid on purpose. Some people, y'all stuck on stupid. You can't help someone stupid. At least someone ignorant, you can give them some knowledge and they can learn. But if you're stupid, you know what the definition of stupidity? Someone that's not willing to learn or take in new information. They're stuck in a certain mindset and they refuse to change. That's someone stupid. You want respect? Respect yourself to get it. Show others respect and you'll get respect. If not, forget about it. You won't never see it. You wait till it's too late. No one cares then. Lastly, this mindset derives even later than the Stockholm Syndrome terminology when it came about. It derives from the Willie Lynch papers. Now, I suggest y'all look it up. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the Willie Lynch paper because I'm trying to wrap this up. The Willie Lynch papers. Right? I'm going to go into this just a little bit. Now, the Willie Lynch letters and the making of a slave. Right? So it talks about in making of a slave. Breaking the buck. What a lot of these women try to do, and a lot of men do it to women as well. You guys are trying to break each other. That's what you're doing. You're trying to break one another. So you guys are literally breaking each other. You're breaking each other down to the point where you're not even use for each other. You're not even good use for each other. You're just destroying each other. And this is exactly what the Caucasian mindset is. They set you guys against one another. The man against the woman against the man against the children, the woman against the children. the children against the woman, the children against the man. They set this is real history on how to keep us separated for 1,000 years and beyond. Right? They call it breaking the buck. Women do it when they down talk a man, try to emasculate him, try to make him feel like less of a person. That's the same thing the Caucasian did. And vice versa, the men doing it to the women. Talk to these women down like she's nobody. It's not true. You were supposed to honor one another. You don't talk to a woman like that. You show her respect and honor just as much as she shows you respect and honor. She doesn't respect and honor you, then obviously you don't have to respect and honor her. That means that's not the person for you. You need to move on and find somebody else to deal with. But y'all need to stop with this behavior, because the only person that's benefiting from this, you think you're getting money? You guys think you're getting the money? You ain't getting nothing. You know who's really benefiting from this? The Caucasian male who put his mindset into you fools. Who just sitting there just going along with the program. And you know what's going on. You see it. You can play dumb all you want. Now some people, it might be hereditary. They just can't change their thought process because it's just literally melted in it. Because if you follow a lie for so long, you're going to believe that lie and you're going to accept that lie for what it is. You're going to accept that lie maybe all your life if you've bought into the lie. That's the problem with a lot of people. Many of y'all have bought into the lies and accepted it as truth. That's the reason why your life sucks. In short, you put on a attitude or a certain type of, you're doing so good for the cameras and for people when you go out in society and you front, but you ain't got nothing to show for it. A lot of y'all don't even got $1,000 in your bank account, but you're out in the club spending money like you got it like that. You may got luxury on and designer Gucci and Fendi and Hermes purse or whatever those things. I don't even care about that stuff. I don't care how much money I ever obtain. I would not waste my money on a lot of that foolishness. Birkin bags, all this crap. You don't even know these people. These people don't. You're buying these people's clothing and I'm spending $1,000 for these items, and these people don't even care about you. You don't even make any money from anything that you buy from these people. You're just making them rich, and they're sitting back laughing at you while they're in their mansions and in their $500,000 cars and their Rolls Royces and Maybachs, while you're sitting in your little busted up Honda trying to pull up in a club with a whole outfit, with an old coming out with a beat up car, pull up at the club, trying to park way down so nobody don't see you hop in your old beat up car, trying to front like you got it like that. Trying to impress who? Other stupid people like you? Other slow people like you who has this mindset? The Caucasian man is sitting back, and his woman in a lot of cases is sitting back laughing at y'all while they cashing checks all day off of your pain and suffering. And you sit there trying to belittle people that look like you. You should be ashamed of yourself. Think you're better than somebody that look like you. You ain't better than nobody. None of us are better than each other. Don't care what you got. And that Caucasian male and woman definitely not better than us either. Don't care what they got. Now quickly, I want to go ahead and wrap this up. Talking about the Willie Lynch papers. And it talks about breaking the buck. I'm not going to go too much in this, but you guys can look it up. If you go to Google, punch in the Willie Lynch papers PDF, it'll be a PowerPoint that comes up. It's about 60 pages long, and it goes into complete details on how that our people and just people in general, men and women, have acquired this mindset of the Caucasian male, because these letters was written by a Caucasian male named Willie Lynch. That may not have been his actual name, but it's called the Willie Lynch Papers. So you can be able to find that. This was a Caucasian male who put this information out. It was a Caucasian male who put this information out, right? So, just to read a little bit on this here, right? It says this speech was delivered by a white slave owner, Willie Lynch, on the banks of the James River in 1712. The untold story. He said, "Gentlemen, greet you here on the banks of the James River in the year of the Lord, 1712. First, I shall thank you, the gentlemen of the colony of Virginia, for bringing me here." You know, Virginia was actually the last state to actually get rid of, so-called abolish slavery. And it wasn't abolished, it was just transformed into a different form of what we see today. But I'm not going to get into that. That's for a whole nother video for another day. First, I shall thank you, the gentlemen of the colony of Virginia, for bringing me here. Here, I am here to help you solve some of your problems with slaves. Your interventions reached me, and my modest plantation of the West Indies, where I've experimented with some of the newest and still oldest methods of control of slaves. Ancient Rome would envy us in my program if my program is implemented. They said the ancient Romans would envy them. The ancient Romans would envy them for what they're implemented. That Caucasian mindset that some of you so-called black people have right now, men and women, and you use it against each other. But then when you go in front of the Caucasian man and woman, you act like you're shucking and jiving, acting like a sucker. I'm calling it out. I'm saying what people not gonna say. Let's move on quickly. As our boat sailed south of the James River, named for our illustrious king. Let me skip down a little bit, scroll down. You guys can definitely read this for yourself. Like I said, I'm currently on page 14. You can scroll down. Let me see here. Okay. It says, in my bag here, I have a foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if it is installed correctly, it will control the slave for at least 300 years. I thought it was 1,000. It says 300. Might as well be 1,000. So, for 300 years, my method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseer can use it, or any overseer can use it. I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and make them bigger. I use fear. You guys running around here scared. Like I said, you go pull up in front of the Caucasian and you change up. But then you pull up in front of your own people, you act tough, you act like you're gangster or something. You're not gangster. The politicians are the real gangsters. The politicians are the real pimps. You guys are not gangsters or pimps. You're imitating your actual slave masters in your behavior. In ancient Egypt, there was no such thing as that. We were kings and queens. All this stuff is beneath us. If you don't know that, you know it now. They use fear. They use distrust. What do we see today? What are we seeing today? People don't trust anyone. Men don't trust women. Women don't trust men. It's because you haven't changed your mindset. That's why you don't trust each other. You still got this mindset. And being around the right people will spot you. They use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. These people have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies, and it will work throughout the South. Take this simple list of differences and think about them. On top of the list, and I'm going to cut it off after this. On top of the list, age, but is there only cause, is only there because it starts with an A. And the second is color or shade. Then there's intelligence, size, sex, plantation, size of the plantation, status on plantation, attitude of owners, whether the slave lives in the valley or in the hills, east, west, north, south, have finer hair, coarse hair, or is tall or short. Now that you have a list of differences, I shall give you an outline of action. But before that, I shall assure you, this distrust is stronger than trust and envy, and is stronger than adulteration, respect, and admiration. The black slave, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refueling, self-regeneration for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. He did say thousands. I know I remember that part. That was into page 16. I'm not going to go any further. I'm going to wrap this up right now. In conclusion, they used the different descriptions: tall, short, fat, dark skin, light skin, thin hair, fine hair, coarse hair. So we have this perception of what beauty is. I don't care how someone looks. If your mind is ugly, you're ugly. I don't care what kind of body shape you got. I don't care how tall you are. I don't care if you got a six-pack. I don't care about none of that. It's the mind that matters. It's that mindset. Do you have the slave master's mindset? Do you have that Caucasian male's mindset or not? That's the difference. If you have that mindset, then you're ugly. Don't care how your exterior looks. I'll take what you consider a so-called ugly person, ugly woman, over a so-called beautiful woman of what we perceive as beauty that has a great mindset, because I can get more with that person that has that great mindset. I can do more with the woman. I don't care how she really looks. As long as she has a great mindset, I can do more with her in a year than some of you fools can do in your lifetime. Our people wasn't given opportunities like that. I don't care nobody say. We have the same opportunity. Bull. We were held back on purpose. And here's the crazy thing about it. We were held back so much, and we're still almost dang near neck and neck. So that means if we weren't held back, we'd just leave you in the dust. They don't want us to come together, y'all, because they know that if we were to come together, we'll shake things up. We'll make things happen. Society would be great. This country's no longer great. It was, but it's not anymore. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you, YouTube. Hit the bell notification, subscribe, leave a comment, so that way you can receive future videos like this. Like this video. Okay? Also, my goal in the next 3 months is to get 100,000 subscribers. So anyone who this can resonate with, who wants better for their lives, subscribe. Also, if you want to help live better in this lifetime, get yourself a numerology report. My email's in the description. Shoot me an email. The numerology report will allow you to be able to know who you are and what best suits you in this lifetime, so that way you can live your life to the fullest. Have happy relationships. Thank you. Peace.